Welcome to This Week in South Carolina. I'm Gavin Jackson. Over the past 14 months, I've traveled around our state to hear the Democratic presidential candidates talk and listen to the voters. They've been interacting with voters across our state, from the upstate, the Midlands, the PD, the Grand Strand, and of course the Low Country. I've heard from listeners and viewers just like you who ask about their thoughts and feelings and how they might be affected by who might be the presidential candidate to represent them going forward in November. These are their voices and their stories.
When we got back to our full being of a primary state, we began to become the bellwether for how things will go because of the demographics of the state. State's around 29% African American. It's about 6 or 7% Hispanic, about 35% minority, and about 65% majority. And so when you look at that, and you look at the Democratic Party's voting patterns, that's about what it is. A vast majority of Democrats vote, blacks vote Democratic. So South Carolina just really became sort of a state where candidates and presidents are made.
I think whoever's going to be the Democratic nominee has to be able to appeal to the wonderful diversity that is this country and the wonderful diversity that is our party. And to the extent people can't do that, then I don't think we can win in November. I think those are the two things. It's going to be a turnout election. We need turnout from every part of the Democratic coalition, including specifically black people, Latinos, Asian Americans, Native Americans, white people. We need the gamut.
Well, I think all we have to do is look at what happened last time. We didn't have unity, and look what we got. Okay, it's like leaving the screen door open and you get all kind of gnats, flies, and bugs. That's what we got. We got to have unity.
Let's not sugarcoat it. The fact is, he is coming to this college today to create an appearance that people of color support his campaign.
In the 20th century, African American churches, civic organizations, and HBCUs, like this one, this great one that we have right here, it's a beauty. It's a nice auditorium, too, by the way, I have to say. Go to a lot of places. This is one of the nicer ones. Do you mind if we come back? But you helped lead the righteous struggle to secure civil rights. African Americans have given their blood, sweat, and tears for this nation. You're entitled to a government that protects your families, your jobs, your safety, and that always puts American citizens first.
Donald Trump has got to go, hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go, hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go, hey, hey.
I mean, there's a lot of things that can be said, good and bad, about him. We're not here to bash him as a president, nor our school president as well. We're just here to let you know that to have him on a historically black college, knowing what this individual stands for as an alumnus, feels like a total slap in the face. And that's pretty much all I have to say.
That sums it up.
You've got a chance to be part of an American majority that'll come together to deal with our challenges. Not just diehard Democrats, but people coming across the aisle. I see one right there. Independents. People who were under no illusions about this president, but may have voted just to do anything for a change. Now we got to actually make sure the change is in the American interest. And that's not going to happen if we act like Donald Trump is just an aberration that just happened out of the blue. It's not going to happen if we try too hard to play it safe or pretend that we can go back to normal.
For a gentleman to talk about his life and dealing with Don't Ask the Hotel and to be able to serve his country and be able to do that while he's hiding who himself is and couldn't have the camaraderie with his crew because of that, that is a leader. And that changed me and my perspective about everything. See, I live in Pawleys Island and I have a lot of LGBTQ friends, so I don't think of that at all. I could see that in the upstate, I could see that probably up here, but I've been very fortunate that, and it really hasn't been a problem. And I could see that happening, yes. But I believe that, I mean, if we can elect a black man to be president, why can't we elect a gay man?
It's good to be back. We also have to acknowledge that there can be no realization of the American dream without continuing to grapple with the original sin of slavery brought to these shores over 400 years ago. A century-long campaign of violence, 4 centuries worth, that in fact fear and trauma brought upon black people in this country. Domestic terrorism and white supremacy have been the antagonist of our highest ideals from our very beginning. Lynch mobs, arsonists, bomb makers, lone gunmen. And we all now realize that violence does not live in the past. If you give it oxygen, it comes back. The same poisonous ideology that lit the fuse in the 16th Street pulled the trigger at Mother Emanuel.
As a member of Mother Emanuel, I know the impact. I know what it's like, to experience, a massacre like what just took place in El Paso and Ohio. This is a deep, dark issue in this country. Discrimination, racism, white supremacy, it is real. And so any candidates that's talking about it, they should be talking about it. Do not allow the critics to silence you, because that means if they silence you, they continue to hide behind that. And we need to shine a light on it. We need to continue to talk about it.
Now, look, some of this is generational. I think a younger generational prefers to talk about black, and an older generation sometimes likes to talk about African American. I try to say the right thing.
It's all the same damn thing.
But at the end of the day, like,
there's only one thing that we don't like to be called. Okay.
And on the other spectrum, with that question, it's scary. Just being a black man, no matter what my status may be, no matter how I may, look, I think something that definitely needs to happen is within the criminal justice system, how cops approach us. I shouldn't have to fear a cop being behind me. Even if I'm doing nothing wrong, when I get stopped by a cop, I shouldn't have to feel that my life may be in danger, or just fear that I have to like everything that I'm saying has to be 100% precise and correct in the way that I'm approaching the situation, because my life may depend on it. So I think definitely something needs to be done with the criminal justice system and with cops and how they're approaching black men in the South. What's the word? When we're coming together to understand each other with, in the law system. So love.
What the world needs now is love.
Right.
That is so true, for real. We just need loving people at the end of the day.
But educating each other, and exposure. I always say the best way to cure ignorance is through educating and exposure.
And not tearing each other down for something that we don't agree on.
Come on in the room. Jesus is my doctor, and he write out all of my prescription.
There are some people out there who say, well, Bernie Sanders may do okay in Iowa and New Hampshire, maybe Nevada, but not South Carolina. Well, I got some bad news for them. Based on what I'm seeing tonight, we're going to do just fine here in South Carolina. Thank you all very much.
Appeal of speaking to all people in an equal, fair playing field. What's not to like about Bernie Sanders? It's kind of like your uncle that you really like, and he just speaks sensible language.
Some of you may have recently heard that the establishment is getting very, very nervous about our movement. You heard about that? And they're kind of going a little bit nuts about how they can try to defeat us. And they're saying Bernie can't beat Trump. Really? Well, take a look at the last 50 national polls. We beat Trump 47 out of those 50. Now, to defeat Trump, you cannot run a conventional campaign. Same old is not going to do it. And I say to my good friend Joe Biden, Joe, you can't do it when you have voted for terrible trade policies like NAFTA and PNTR with China, which have cost us millions of jobs.
2, 3. Stop! There we go.
Listening to him, I think I'm going to pay a little bit more attention to his campaign because of some things that he said today. Well, what really stood out is that, well, first of all, he seems very down to earth. He seemed very much aware of what black and brown people may be going through here in America, and he doesn't seem fooled about anything that President Trump may be saying as far as racism is concerned. And that really makes a difference to me.
I'm Joyce, and I'm with the Joe Biden campaign, and we have our bus out today, and we're just canvassing the area, and want to leave this flyer with you and let you know a little bit about Joe.
Any luck?
Yes, all supporters.
Okay then, but I've seen your face before. Nice to meet you. Okay.
Do you think it's getting better or worse, that divide between urban and rural?
Probably right now, I would say on some levels it's getting better. On most levels, it's getting worse. That the disparities is built into the system. So that, to me, is the kind of stuff we have to deal with in South Carolina. And for some strange reason, there's this fear of dealing with it, and I don't know why. I just don't think most people realize that we need to deal with this issue.
You're buying your groceries somewhere where those tax dollars are going to another school, and you're not mad at the other school, but there's no way to help your own school. You can't build your own community like that. And you watch this all around America. And my view is, if you're in America, you ought to have opportunity regardless of your zip code. And just because your zip code is in a rural community doesn't mean you shouldn't have a chance. It doesn't mean your kids shouldn't have a chance. It doesn't mean that your high school kids and your grade school kids, your little babies shouldn't have a chance.
We have not made the progress in this area that we should be making or should have made by now. This area is still pretty divided because when the equalization school was built, and then when the desegregation case was filed in Briggs v. Elliott, they started all of these Christian schools so that their kids, the white kids, would not have to go to school with black kids. And Somerton is still very divided. There may be maybe 1 or 2% white kids in Scotts Branch in the school district. And the rest of them, the 90-some% are still black kids. So we're basically still a segregated town.
What? Which one do I ask the order for?
You gotta have the clerk over here.
Okay.
Yeah, you wanna wait up?
I want to look see what we got here.
Yeah, all right. Greenfield are fantastic.
If you're teaching in an at-risk school, how many times does a parent not show up for the parent-teacher meeting? They don't not come because they don't care. They're embarrassed. They don't know what to say. It's like when I went off to college, the first in my immediate family to go to college. My dad was a well-read, high school educated guy. He was a decent man, a great honorable man. But he wouldn't come to community, he wouldn't come on college tours with me. And it took me a while to realize it. His pride was such that he didn't know how to act on a college camp. He's worried he wouldn't know what to say. He's worried he wouldn't know what to do. And so there's a lot we can do to change the environment that generates the kind of uncertainty and that generates the kind of concern that people have. And so there's a lot more to say about it, but I think I don't want everybody just focusing on mass shootings. That's critically important. But what's happening, the carnage that's happening in neighborhoods that are tough neighborhoods across the board, regardless of the racial or ethnic makeup of them, there's a lot going on in those neighborhoods we can change, and we should change.
So we have to keep moving forward. That's why Mr. Trump's racism is so offensive, because it's actually turning back the progress to accept people as full human beings. And that's how I see immigration. I respect people as full human beings, and that's how we should treat immigrants, and that's how we should treat each other, and we should tell the truth about the past and repair the past so we can move forward.
12 days into the primary, I'm about 80% of voting for him at this present time. Tom is coming up in a lot of conversations lately, but as you know, Biden is the most popular name in the Democrat side where I'm from. Bernie, I like Bernie in certain ways, but Bernie talks too much about giving things away. Can he actually do that with a Congress and a Senate? First of all, you're going to have control of either one of the two. And that's an issue with me.
That no matter where you come from, no matter who you know, no matter if you don't have money or not, no matter where you worship, no matter how you love, that you can succeed in this country. And we have a man in the White House right now that divides us every day. He goes after immigrants. He goes after people of color. He decides he's going to send us to war by tweet. And we need to come together and win. And every great thing that my colleagues have set up here, we need to get done. We need to go after climate change, right? We need to do something about prescription drugs and bring those costs down. We need to go after college costs and bring them down. But none of this is going to happen unless you vote.
So I just learned about 2 weeks ago that my hometown of Belton, South Carolina is the poorest town per capita and that's important, per capita in South Carolina, and I was just blown away by that. And then about 2 days later, I saw his Austin, Texas town hall on Facebook and thought, he's a millennial. He is very relatable to me. Why am I not stepping up too? So I just have been looking for things to do at home, in my hometown, and all the things that I can really get involved with in Belton just because of him. And I think that's an indicator that maybe I should be looking into him.
Jag bodde i Chicago. Vi hade en kyrka, en norska lutherska minikyrka som hade ett präst som var norsk. I used to go over there and kind of listen to the sermon to try to soak it up. Sorry, I just ran out of Norwegian. Well, just how many people came and how warm the reception was, I guess, was a pleasant surprise. You know, we felt like we've hit a nerve around the country, but this is the first time that I've visited South Carolina since we rolled out the exploratory committee. And what I see is voters who are engaged, who really care about the direction of the country, and who I think take this kind of privileged position of being an early state very seriously. But you know, this is our first visit since the committee was rolled out, so I'm looking forward to many more more. And I'm looking forward to visits where we can do a lot of listening too. We're kind of introducing ourselves right now, but I want to make sure that I take advantage of the opportunity to learn from the different communities around the state.
As I travel this country, I see firsthand the dream Dr. King imagined more than 50 years ago. Today, I march down this street with optimism because I feel hope, I see hope. America is ready to move beyond this dark moment of Donald Trump.
Personally, I am leaning towards Elizabeth Warren. I love everything that she stands for. I am a college student, so her and Bernie's stance against the college tuition being so high and being just out of reach. I have nieces and nephews that I want to be able to not be in the same situation as me and my mother and our parents before us was in. So I'm leaning more towards her because she, to me, is the most realistic to the people and majority of the people, while the rest are kind of in their own little world.
Very soon. Tonight, though, we just heard from the first 2 of 50 states. 2 of them. Not all the nation, not half the nation, not a quarter of the nation, not 10%, 2. Now, where I come from, that's the opening bell, not the closing bell. And the fight to end Donald Trump's presidency is just beginning. Just beginning.
Live from the Gilliard Center in Charleston, South Carolina, this is the CBS News Democratic Debate. Here are the 7 candidates for the presidential nomination.
You know, we talk about progressive. Let's talk about being progressive. Walking distance here is Mother Emanuel Church. 9 people shot dead by a white supremacist. Bernie voted 5 times against the Brady bill and wanted a waiting period. No, let me finish. And waited a waiting period of 12 hours. I'm not saying he's responsible for the 9 deaths, but that man would not have been able to get that weapon with the waiting period had been what I suggest until you are cleared.
I'm hearing my name mentioned a little bit tonight. I wonder why. And maybe, you know, Pete mentions what the American people want. I will tell you, Pete, what the American people want, and Joe, what the American people want. They don't want candidates to be running to billionaires for huge amounts of funding.
All right, let's clear this up once and for all.
Pete has gotten funding
you've got people
from
believing
over
something
50
that is false.
billionaires.
This
Joe,
needs
I
to be
think, has
cleared
gotten
up.
a little bit more. What the
All right.
American people want, by the way, and a lot of the issues we'll be discussing tonight are issues I raised 4 years ago. Raising the minimum wage to a living wage, $15 an hour, making public colleges and universities tuition free, and finally doing what every other major country on earth does, guaranteeing health care to all people as a human right through a Medicare for all single-payer system.
I can't allow this to stand because it's just not true. Senator Sanders has got people believing something that is untrue about my campaign. The idea that most of my campaign is funded by billionaires.
I didn't say that, Pete.
50 people. All right. In Charleston alone, just in Charleston, over 2,000 people have contributed to my campaign. That means the dollars that have come to my campaign just from Charleston is more than the dollars that have come from the 50 people that you mentioned. Grassroots contributions are the lifeblood of my campaign. In fact, I shouldn't miss the opportunity. If you're watching right now and you support my campaign, go to PeteForAmerica.com and chip in. And if you're watching right now and you're a billionaire, I will raise your taxes.
I don't care how much money Mayor Bloomberg has. The core of the Democratic Party will never trust him. He has not earned their trust. I will. And the fact that he cannot earn the trust of the core of the Democratic Party means he is the riskiest candidate standing on this stage.
All right, Senator Warren, thank you. Mayor Bloomberg, would you like to respond? Mayor Bloomberg.
I have been training for this job since I stepped on the pile that was still smoldering on 9/11. I know what to do. I've shown I know how to run a country. I've run the city, which is almost the same size, as bigger than most countries in the world. I am not the least. I'm the one choice that makes some sense. I have the experience, I have the resources, and I have the record.
I bought stock in a prison company thinking they'd do a better job, and I investigated and I sold it.
Okay.
Stop.
You knew when you bought it they'd done that.
I get to answer this question. And in fact, since then, I've worked to end the use of private prisons in my home state, and we've ended it. I've started a bank to support Black ownership of businesses, women ownership of businesses, and Latino owners of businesses, because this financial service industry is prejudiced. I have worked tirelessly on this, and you know I'm right. You wrote the crime bill.
Where we come from, that's called Tommy Come Lately.
There are other people here.
Put hundreds of thousands of young Black and Latino
Not true.
men in prison.
Okay.
Everyone seemed to be a little more on the attack. I guess that's the closing arguments are made for our primary on Saturday. There was definitely Klobuchar peaked, and Biden definitely tried to make themselves or compare and contrast themselves from Senator Warren and Senator Sanders, clearly. And, it appeared as though Mayor Bloomberg was not going to make the same mistake he made in Nevada. So I don't know if we got any clarity from tonight, but I'm hoping we'll have some at 7 p.m. on Saturday.
The choice is now yours, South Carolina. Be sure to tune into this SC ETV station Saturday primary night at 8 p.m. for live results, news, analysis, and reports from the field. Also, check out the South Carolina Lead, the podcast I host each week with reporters who cover state news. You can find it on any podcast app on any mobile device. From South Carolina ETV studios in Columbia, I'm Gavin Jackson.